House H5413, sponsored by Representative Regenberg, titled Health and Safety, Families and Workplace Act. This has been commonly known as a sick leave bill, so I will refer to it as such since it seems to be commonly understood that way. This act would provide all employers with at least 18 employees to provide their employees with a minimum level of paid sick and safe leave, including time to care for the employee's family members. There is a substantial sub-A. I will again turn to Susan Chirillo, our legal counsel, to describe the changes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not going to tell you every single little change. This would probably take about an hour, but I'm going to hit the highlights from what you saw in the previous bill to what this sub-A does. First, the first section, they had removed the legislative findings. They've simplified the legislative purpose. There is now a 3-year phase-in. So there are 3 sick days in 2018, 4 sick days in 2019, and 5 sick days thereafter.
And that would be cumulative, so there'd be a total of 5, not 3, 4, and 5, meaning
right.
12.
Correct.
Correct?
For small business owners with 18 or fewer employees, they're exempt from providing paid sick days.
Sue,
yes,
could you refer to the page in line?
Well, sadly, I was given bullet points because this just came over, but okay. I'll do my best.
All right.
Bear with me. You can see on page 1, on line 8, the legislative purpose has been deleted, as I said. You've got...
is your microphone on? Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. That's all. Can you just pull it a little closer?
It should be on. Yep.
So if you pull it right up to your mouth.
Is that better? Oh, yeah, a lot better.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. The 3-year phase-in, let's see where that is. On page 3, line 22 to 25, you can see where an employer that employs less than 18 employees. So there's an exemption there. On page 4, on line 6 through 13, that's where it talks about the 24 hours, the calendar year 2018, 32 hours during calendar year 2019, and 40 hours per year thereafter. The effective date, which is actually at the end, is going to take effect July 1st of 2018. That's on the last page. The reason for that is that Department of Labor and Training needs time for the regulations. On page 2, and I'm sorry to be going back and forth here, but I'm going by my sheet. On page 2, from line 9 through 13, the definition of employee, it codifies the definition of employee to be consistent with state law. On page 5, from 17 to 21, temporary employees must work 6 months before accruing sick days. And on the same page, 5:22 through 26, seasonal employees must work 5 months before accruing sick days. Exempt from this chapter are construction trades, municipalities, interns, work study, per diem nurses, independent contractors, and subcontractors. You'll see on page 5, on 14 through 16, any employer in the construction industry. Next is... And most of the enforcement provisions have been removed from the original bill and either will be put into regulation or referred to the enforcement and fine mechanisms in the minimum wage statute. That's what I have on my sheet. Anything else you'd like me to add to that, I'd be more than happy to try. I've just seen this bill just now. So.
Okay. There is also an opt-out, so to speak, or it doesn't apply to people who have existing plans? So in other words, if you already have a sick day leave program, you don't have to go through the reporting process. You can just continue on with your existing.
Right. If you have a certain type of situation where you're providing benefits for your employees already, a certain amount of vacation time, then that is going to be included in.
Okay.
You're not going to be required to provide additional sick time if you're already offering what the minimum is in the law right now or in this bill.
Does anyone else on the committee have any questions of legal counsel?
I guess I have one question.
Yeah. Okay.
The exemptions, under the exemptions, there's construction industry workers that are exempted, but only employees that work under a collective bargaining agreement. Is there a reason why it only applies to those under a collective bargaining agreement?
We've got an expert up here.
Yes, we have an expert here that can answer that.
The expert.
Whip Edwards.
There.
The collective bargaining units already have sick time and everything in their agreements, so we don't want to be redundant.
Okay. All of them do?
All of them do.
Okay.
Well, and I'd add on that, it's folks in that field under CBAs. It's a pretty unique situation where you've got multiple employers and you're moving around, and so it's for the most part a different situation than folks not under CBAs where you're probably working with the same person for a while.
Multiple employees that kind of move around. Is that what you're talking about? I was unaware, Whip, that every CBA included provisions for sick days. I thought there was some out there that had.
They have vacation time, and usually done through they accrue it for what they're working for each employer. So they might work for 5 different employers that year. They accrue the time for the number of hours they work. They call it vacation, but it's
like a flex time.
It's a flex time. They use it. It's actually originally listed as vacation, but they can use it for sick time.
Right. So using that line of reasoning, they would be exempt anyways under the other provisions of the bill.
Yes.
So I still don't get the point of exempting specifically those under a CBA when they don't technically, some of them don't have the provision for where they would be exempt anyways. I don't understand that argument.
And again, I think it's largely because.
Go ahead, Aaron. I apologize.
It's largely because of the unique situation where you're going to be at many employers over the course of a year.
But let's use the instance of those that are not under a collective bargaining agreement. Okay, if you're doing, say, prevailing wage construction work as a non-CBA employee for an open shop contractor, that contractor is allowed to deduct the amount of the sick day from the benefits portion of that employee's wages. So you're allowed to take money that would normally go in the employee's paycheck now to fund their sick days. So technically they're exempt also when you look at it that way because they're paying for their own sick days.
Technically.
I think that's why they're exempt, because they operate under a non-traditional employer-employee relationship. It's not like you show up at Amica, for example, and you work and then you have so many sick days.
It just stood out to me that any employer in the construction industry, why didn't we just stop it there? Why did we have to go fill in the rest of that sentence? Because you could just exempt them all and let them keep their own money.
Because not every employer works on prevailing wage projects where the benefit package is included. If you are working on non-prevailing wage projects, and you fall under this law, you will have to provide the benefit.
You're also giving an advantage to union contractors over non-union contractors at the expense of the employee. You don't see it that way? Okay.
Representative Regenberg.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to take a moment to really sincerely thank you and the Speaker and the Leader and, of course, perhaps most of all, Majority Whip Edwards, for the very significant amount of time and energy that all of you have put into this process, and it has been a process. But the bottom line is, if we vote for this next year, for the first time, no Rhode Islander is going to have to choose between their health or their family and their job, and I think that's something that we can all take a lot of pride in. So thank you for everything you've put into this process.
Thank you for your efforts too, Representative Regenberg. You were the point person on this bill. Any further questions? Do I hear a motion to hold House Bill H5413 and pass the substitute A? So moved. Seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Did you get that, Jimmy? I believe that, I think we're still in recess. We might be back, yeah. So we're at ease.